So this one was pretty straightforward. It was evaluating the value of self-control in the workplace. And the main questions were, how does self-control affect our behaviors in the workplace? And how does one's job satisfaction impact the relationship? So they did a study of that included 1,101 participants, all of whom were working in an organization in China. The participant demographics included 493 males, 608 females, so almost 50-50. They were aged anywhere between 18 to 64 years old and had across the board been working right close to 5 years at their organization. All of them were provided a questionnaire with a 5-point or 7-point scale that they rated their feelings regarding different sections such as self-control, job satisfaction, organizational citizenship behavior, and counterproductive work behavior. So the results showed that the author's hypotheses were correct. Self-control and job satisfaction both play an important role in overall workplace behavior. Self-control and job satisfaction had a positive relationship, and self-control and counterproductive work behavior had a negative relationship. Additionally, job satisfaction was associated with OCB in a positive way and with CWB in a negative way. And those are just the abbreviations, obviously, for the organizational citizenship behavior and counterproductive work behavior. Job satisfaction was shown to be a mediator in the relationship between self-control and either OCB or CWB. And overall, the more self-control a person has, the more likely they are to be satisfied in their job, and the more likely OCB behavior is. And so that, the implication there is that if you have self-control, you will likely suppress, I guess, acting impulsively to do things that would, lead to a counterproductive work behavior. You're more likely to engage in things that will help prevent or reduce conflict, help you achieve your long-term goals. And so while job satisfaction is somewhat of a mediator here, it's also more likely to occur because of self-control. And then that leads to organizational citizenship behavior. So self-control is a very important skill to have, which we all know, and organizations may benefit from finding ways to incorporate training related to it. Self-control can lead to greater job satisfaction, and this in turn leads to greater OCB, which benefits not only the employee, but also the organization. And creating an environment that allows for positive job satisfaction might encourage employees to have more self-control, which can lead to those benefits and lower the chances of counterproductive work behavior taking place.
I think this is interesting. It's like, it makes sense to me that you would have that self-control would lead to organizational citizenship behavior through job satisfaction. So it's interesting. I mean, it makes sense because usually I feel like you think of workplaces and you can't be like going like no self-control would be a problem in the workplace, and it would make sense because you probably would get into trouble with people if you had no self-control in your job. But it makes sense that, so I think it seems fairly like a good paper, fairly straightforward. I'd be interested to see what self-control, like what that would look like within training. And what immediately comes to mind is like the conflict resolution trainings that people go through and that we offer that are you're kind of taking a step in these places of conflict away from the conflict and making it not about you, and rather trying to read the situation. And that's a difficult self-control because you want in those moments to immediately react. But in like conflict resolution training, you can choose, you're learning how to respond to conflict rather than react to it. And so I feel like that's kind of where a measure of self-control comes into play.
Yeah, that's a great point, Noah. And I definitely agree. And I was thinking of that too, how it could be productively implemented into, into trainings that you'd have in the workplace. But I think the conflict resolution point's really valid, especially because that was actually a big focus, of the mention there, that they said, self-control helps prevent or reduce conflict. And that was one of their leading points as to why it can lead to job satisfaction and OCB. So I think having those two set together makes a lot of sense, and is really important for the overall outcome for everyone.
Right. Yeah. And I think it points to like, how do we develop ways to help employees build up their ability to have better self-control. And I think that, there's a lot of things that contribute to that bucket, and conflict, I think conflict resolution is kind of a cyclical cycle where if you have more self-control, you'll do better at conflict resolution, which I think means you'll have more self-control next time. And it's kind of goes on and on. But then you think of like things like kind of what we mentioned in Elise's study with the importance of self-care and preventing burnout and all of that, and how, having mechanisms, policies in place to help employees get the self-care they need will help them probably have better self-control in these really intense, heated moments. So
yeah, and I thought that was like good what you just said, like the more you like practice it, the better you'll be at it next time. And that's like the same thing with like conflict. Like the more you like confront your problems and the more you practice that, like the easier it gets, even if it's really hard for somebody.
Yep. Yeah, and it makes me think of I hope that's true, that it's better when you get at it. I believe it is, but I feel like I was talking with a friend the other day about when I was still getting my master's at Pepperdine. There was we were learning, you learn about de-escalation and everything, and there was a point where I was surfing with a friend, and somebody got really, like, this guy on a surfboard got really mad at us that we were taking his wave. And we were like, dude, like, nobody owns the beach. Why are you getting mad at me? But we didn't say that. But he was just like fuming, extremely angry. It could have escalated like a lot more. And I was like frozen. I was like, I'm getting a master's in this topic, but I have no idea what to do right now. And so, and that's, I guess that's self-control, because I'm not reacting, but I'm reacting by flighting, I would say, because I didn't do anything. So I hope that's the case. I hope that I can, that is an improvement to come. I guess we'll see.
It's easier to help other people in conflict than it is to deal with your own.
That's true.
Well, and in situations like that too, where there's not a lot of context and you don't know how people will react, and this guy's really angry. I mean, at least you didn't escalate it, right? But I agree. I think situations like that are really difficult when it comes to that kind of context where you're not with, it's just not a workplace where at least your coworkers a little bit, but having no rules to follow, I think makes it hard when you're out in the world. But
yeah,
important nonetheless, but difficult.
Definitely.